Hi, my name is Walter Radcliffe. I've been building learning environments to accelerate adoption of change for the last 2 decades. In this briefing, I want to share with you some of the lessons we've learned. By change, I'm talking about any new or modified business practice that requires your employees to learn and do something different. It could be a new system, a new business process, or any other initiative. The futurist Paul Sappho once said, "The amount of time required for new ideas to fully seep into a culture has consistently averaged 3 decades. These data seem to support what he says. But inside organizations, we usually don't have this kind of time. There's a large body of common knowledge about managing change. Change takes work at both the individual and cultural level. There are early adopters and late adopters, etc., etc. But what's interested me is how we can speed up adoption by design. Well, most people like to believe they're on the forefront and that change is simple for them. That is, if they choose to. So what we find in many organizations is a belief that change happens through training. The logic's pretty simple. If you tell people what they need to do, they're bright so they'll understand. And if they understand, they're already pretty skilled. After all, we hire only the best, so they'll be able to do what's required. They're already motivated, so if we can just share the benefits of the change, they'll see the wisdom. And finally, once they start doing something, they'll keep doing it, because it works. Well, you guessed it, the chain is more wish than reality. Where does it come apart? First, telling is only one side of the communication. A small part of what people hear is received, understood, or remembered. Effective communication takes attention, trust, readiness, relevance, and energy. Next, will the receiver be able to translate a change into action? Well, that's the common wisdom. If people really understand something, they can take action. We tend to assume common sense, right? For most purposes, you can count on it, but when something's new, you've probably experienced the vertigo when you discover that what you mean and what someone else means by the same concept are totally different. When things change, building back up a common base of assumptions takes attention. Change also brings out anxieties. Some people jump to a challenge, others doubt it'll work, and others doubt that their effort will pay off. What stops a lot of people from trying is not what happens in the safe harbor of a classroom. It's what happens when reality bites. Now, what did they say to do? There are good ways to accelerate adoption. For example, use pilots to discover unspoken knowledge and simulations for learning. Another assumption is that if people can do something, they will do it. And if not, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. This basic motivation question is what Robert Mager jokingly called the "you really oughta wanna" problem. Now that they're trained, can you count on them to actually do it on the job? Motivation's not just what's in it for me. It's a matter of clarity. Sometimes it's difficult for individuals to bridge the chasm on their own, and what about the consequences of failing? People have lots on their plate. Change is usually one more thing. The effort of figuring out something new, not to mention pressure from bosses and peers, is enough to stop many change programs. Finally, is it safe to assume once trained, people will keep doing it? The consultant Gary Rumler put it this way: if you put a good performer into a bad system, the system wins every time. He was talking about an organization's work system. Sometimes the best way to accelerate adoption is to change the work environment. What managers do, how they manage people, the work processes and tools, the resources available in the motivational system. Using these insights as a foundation will help you accelerate adoption of change in your organization. To inoculate against the common wisdom, remember these 2 big rules. First, telling ain't training. Explaining something doesn't mean they'll be able to do it. And training ain't adoption. Your goal isn't sending people through class, it's getting enough critical mass of adoption to capture the business goals of the new process, system, standard, or procedure. So there are 2 parts to a design for accelerating adoption: the work environment and the individual. The best place to start is with the work environment. It's often less expensive and has more impact than to change each individual. Then build a performance-based learning environment that provides a bridge to reality. The biggest takeaway is this: while training may be a lot of the cost, it's not the place to stop, because your return is realized by what you do in the work environment. This is a test.